Hello and welcome to the final of the Great Tournament 2. This is a tournament that's been running through most of October and has been run primarily through my Discord. And the Great Tournament is built on a lot of rules that are designed to prevent any kind of cheesy behaviour. We don't allow goon squads, we don't allow corner camping, we don't allow counter picking, all the things one would despise in quick battles basically. And we've had a lot of good fights up to this point, up to the final, and it's come down to Merlin versus Keuken. And I would like to apologise to the Dutch, as that is definitely not how Keuken is pronounced, but that's what I've been rolling with. Now, let me give you a little bit of a background on these two fellas. So Merlin, the Dark Horse, the Great Deceiver. Why? Well, on my Discord, I had a little program where you could get mentored by someone, and to do that, you had to be classed as a rookie. You had to get the rookie role, and he wanted that. He asked to be made a rookie, so we made him a rookie. And with that, it makes you think that he doesn't know the game that well. He's not going to be that good, right? Because he's asked to be a rookie. He's looking to improve. So no one really expected anything of old Merlin. And Merlin's first match was against one of our finalists from last year, Dingo, who he thoroughly destroyed. Sorry, Dingo. And then in the semi-finals, he faced Outer Region, who's quite high up on the leaderboards. He's 200 and something. But Merlin managed to get past him and get himself to the final. Which brings us to the Keuken man. Keuken, another strong player. He's ranked about 83 on the leaderboard at present, which obviously doesn't mean everything, but it is a good indication that someone has played a lot of multiplayer and they know their stuff. He's higher up on the leaderboard than a lot of your common tournament players, but this is actually his first tournament. And he managed to get through a very strong tournament player in Mukip in the quarterfinals. Only just, it was very, very close, but he managed to beat Mukip, who I think even won some other tournament while he was playing this tournament. So yeah, Mukip, another top 100, very strong player. But Keuken managed to defeat him to get through to the final. So those are our two champions in the final. Who will be the ultimate champion though? We'll find out in this video. First, let me tell you about the battles though and how they worked, because my tournament is a little bit different than any other tournament you might have seen, because I like to mix it up and make it a little bit different. So the first battle, the players actually chose each other's faction. So Keuken chose what faction Merlin would play, and Merlin chose what faction Keuken would play. And battle number 2 was a mirror match. Both played as the Empire using a simple build that I'd put together. It was just a very balanced army, so we could see how both of the different players would use those different units in what ways. And yeah, I thought that would be interesting. The only customizable option they had was some of their leftover money, their spells and chevrons they could customize, so that was something where they could make a little bit of a difference. And the third battle was basically like a quick battle. They wouldn't know the faction they're facing or the map that they were playing on until the day, just like a quick battle essentially. Battle number 4 was a TGT battle, the Great Tournament battle, which is normally where the player does know the faction before the fight, they do know the map before the fight, and they can kind of prepare over a few days and decide what they want to do, decide their approach to taking on that faction on that map, and they can get in some practice. And then the last battle, I originally planned to do something a little bit quirky, but I thought it was maybe a bit risky to do for the final decider battle, and that was to have them use auto-generated armies. So they just pick whatever faction they want, and they just hit the auto-gen button and then fight with that. But when it actually came to it, when we got to the 5th battle, which honestly I wasn't expecting to happen because it hasn't happened yet in 2 of my tournaments, I thought, is this really the best way to end a tournament for a final battle where both players are 2 and 2? So unsure, I asked chat at the time I was streaming. I asked what they wanted to see. Did they want to see this auto-generated battle for the fun of it, although luck could be a big factor and isn't necessarily the best way to end a tournament, or should we just do basically a quick battle, let them choose whatever faction they want, whatever build they want, and have them go at each other and see who comes off victorious. And the people voted for the quick battle. Someone said, leave luck out of it, which I think is what stuck with me, and I thought, yeah, that's true. Leave luck out of it. We don't want a luck job as the final battle to end the tournament. Doesn't make sense, so we went with letting them choose whatever faction they want, and that's what they did. So that's how the battles worked. I'll now shut my face and we'll get into this damn final. So, battle number 1, the Vampires for Keuken and Skaven for Merlin. This is the one where they chose each other's factions. So Keuken told Merlin to play Skaven, and Merlin told Keuken to play Vampires. Now Merlin, I know for a fact, was learning Skaven before this. He hadn't actually played Skaven much up to this point, so this is one he really had to prepare for. And Keuken has played Vampires. He played them against Mukip in the final battle with them, so he knows his Vampires pretty well. But maybe they can both tell us in the comments why they chose who they chose. Now, for the builds, they were allowed to choose them themselves, of course. Merlin chose all his Skaven units. He's got a front line of halberds with Lord Skroak. Got some Poison Wing Globadiers, Night Runners with slings, a bit of range. And then got some armor piercing power with 3 units of rat ogres. They're just hanging out in the back line at the moment. There's a bunch of clan rat spears around. There's a warp lightning cannon. A hell pit abomination. And that is about it. So opting for a holding front line. Maybe looking to gun some monsters down with the poison wind globos and the warp lightning cannon. Maybe planning to flank around with his rat ogres or get them stuck in the front line. Now Keuken had some feasters in the dusk chilling out over here. They're doing a runaway so they don't get spotted. They do have stalks, so they are hidden at the moment. The Skaven have no idea that they're there. Now Keuken approaches with his army. It's mostly infantry for the main bulk of it. He's got some zombies with great weapon graveguard, spearmen, the Tyeth, or however you pronounce it, the Sternsmen, more spearmen, then more zombies and more great weapon graveguard. So lots of infantry killing power, as much as the vampires can bring anyway. They're not terribly strong, but there are Verix Reavers here as well, which are very strong for the vampires. Cavalry, a big part of the vampires game. Verix Reavers going to be regenerating your stuff, so they can be difficult to get rid of. Also some Blood Knights in the trees, of course. No vampire army is complete without Blood Knights. These are, of course, way out in the trees though, so they've got a long way to go. Bit of ground to cover before they get to the Skaven. There's also the Dire Pack with their anti-large powers, some bats, and his lord is the Red Duke on a flying mount. So that is all of Keuken's army. Oh no, the Devils of Schwarzhofen are here as well. So he's got a fair bit of flying there to take advantage of, because the Skaven don't have that option. He's got the Red Duke, he's got the bats, he's got the Vargeists. And Skaven opting to sit up on a hill a little bit. Had to be careful of being too near the edge of the map, but he was okay in this one. Warp lightning cannon going off, trying to shoot some graveguard. But they're not really landing a lot of shots. They fired 5 or 6 shots. None of them really landed properly yet. So not a lot of damage coming off that warp lightning cannon yet. And the vampires are closing in. Although he's targeting the Blood Knights now, getting some damage done on them. So Skaven chilling out on the hill. The bats are coming in. All the vampires are moving up on him to surround him. He's getting the bats and the cavalry in from this side. He's got some Verix Reavers over here. He can maybe get those down the right hand side. And the Skaven got to try and defend. Bats coming in, going to start disrupting that cannon. And the infantry is about to arrive. The bats not really stopping the cannon too much. It's still firing. It's hitting these Blood Knights over here, and it is doing a nice bit of damage. Blood Knights down to half health. They've lost a fair few models as well. Taking a bit of a pounding. The Dire Pack are alright. Vampires about to clash with the front line. Going to get those zombies in there. He's spawned up zombies now. Keuken has spawned zombies all over that Warp Lightning Cannon. That thing's going to struggle now. The Red Duke's landed. He's just pushed over Lord Sproke in a playground fashion. He's charging into halberds now, which is a bit of a questionable decision, as halberds are anti-large and he's on a mount which makes him large. The only reason I can think he did that is to try and hold these halberds in place so they don't charge these Graveguard back, who have now got a charge on them. So if he was doing that, it's doing well, but it's going to cost his lord a bit of help. Rat Ogres trying to stop the Vargeists. Feasters in the Dusk are in here now, slapping some rats around. The Hellpit Abomination trying to get involved, but there's just zombies everywhere stopping all the missiles from firing. Verix Reavers and Spearmen coming down the left side of the Skaven, or right side of the Skaven, left side of the Vampires. And the Blood Knights are making their way over, but they have been thoroughly depleted. They're going to need an invocation of the heck. That thing's still firing. The Warp Lightning Cannon can't be stopped. Still firing away at those Blood Knights, whipping them down. The Verix Reavers are coming in, going to take on some Rat Ogres. But there's just so many units around at the moment, lots of zombies everywhere for the vampires, making it very difficult for the Skaven to maneuver at all. Merlin's army was very small and very tightly packed, which may not be the best decision against the vampires, given how easy it is for them to clog everything up. Rat Ogres struggling here, the Spearmen are on them, some Clan Rats have been spawned up to help though. But these Rat Ogres taking a bit of a hammer and they're going to waver. Schwarzhofen still flying around. There's not a lot the Skaven can do about flying units without a lot of range. They'll be able to just fly away quite easily due to the low mass of most Skaven units. So a bit of a struggle here for Merlin. He's not got a lot of room to maneuver anything. The Blood Knights are in here now. They're fighting the Hellpit, got him down to half health. There's some healing coming off on all this stuff here. Bit of invocation of Nehek, trying to get those Blood Knights a little bit back in the game. The Dire Pack are in as well. They're anti-large, so they'll do a little bit of extra damage to that Hellpit. And they've got him routed now. So that big expensive unit is on the run. He'll be able to chase that off quite easily. The Storm Vermin are holding quite well on the front. They're not going anywhere too quickly. Sproke's alright. The Vargeists are alright though. And there's just lots of red flags gone white now. A lot of the Skaven units have run away. These Rat Ogres here, they need to come back. And this is the danger for Merlin. Being so close to the edge, it means he's going to route off the map. He's very lucky those rat ogres didn't just go straight off the map, as most of these units are going to because he's so close to the edge. You see the red duke chasing off these storm vermin. They're just going to run straight off the map, and he doesn't have to spend too much time chasing them because they're right there next to the edge. So a little bit of a dodgy decision for Merlin there to try and take the hill. Obviously trying to defend his flanks a little bit by being on the hill, but it unfortunately has worked against him in this case because it is very close to the edge. Skaven are mostly gone. White flags begin showing, and down goes... Oh, the Hellbit's still in there. Can he survive? No, he's gone. Okay. Vampire victory. Keuken takes the first one. Let's have a look at some kills here. What do we got for the vampires? Fairly spread out. Some good Graveguard kills. Beric's Reaver's doing well. Blood Knight's got a bit hammered by the artillery. And the artillery doing well for the Skavens. Some of the Rat Ogres doing okay, some not. But fairly balanced across both armies, but a fairly comfortable win for Keuken in this one. Now let's just take a look at what Merlin could have done in this battle to give himself a bit of a better chance of winning. So the first thing we can identify with the vampires is that their main force is mostly, the dangerous parts of it are just heavy infantry. Right, the Graveguard, the Sternsmen, they're the problems we need to deal with. Who have we got? Who's the best to deal with that? It's going to be the Rat Ogres. The Storm Vermin with Halberds are going to hold pretty well, but the armor piercing and anti-infantry bonuses of those Graveguard are going to be a problem for them, not to mention all the zombies as well. So bringing up the Rat Ogres to support the front line. Rat Ogres are going to be one of the best choices for damaging that heavy infantry. So they could have been better used trying to support the front line. I think they could have even swapped out the Clan Rats, put them on the front line with the Rat Ogres, and pulled the Halberds back to protect the artillery and such, to protect the flanks maybe. Perhaps that would have worked better, although the Clan Rats would rout away pretty quick with the fear. And the second thing is that Merlin's army is in a pretty small little box, as I mentioned. It's all very close together. So he may have been better off spacing himself out a bit more, giving himself a bit more room, making it harder for the vampires to just clog up all his units and severely limit the mobility of the Skaven, which is exactly what Keuken did. So that's that battle. Obviously, it's very easy to say these things in hindsight, me watching the battle back. Obviously, for Merlin, when he's in the moment, it's not easy to always think of these things and get them done. So we head into the second battle. Keuken up 1. This is the Empire mirror match. You can see the armies are completely the same in terms of which units have been chosen, but there are some differences with chevrons, and probably spells and abilities will be different as well. So let's take a look at these armies and see what they've done with them first of all, and see how they've actually arranged them in a formation. So the yellow Empire is Keuken. So this is Keuken's army. He's got spearmen at the front. He's got swordsmen behind. So he's opting to go with spearmen to maybe break some charges. He's got spearmen at either edge, halberds on one flank, so protecting his flanks well. He's got his missiles in the middle, crossbowmen, silver bullets and handgunners, and then at the back we've got 2 units of great swords. So that's the main bulk of Keuken's army, and then out wide on the flank he's got his cavalry, lord and wizard. Karl Franz on Deathclaw, wizard of the celestial variety, halberd demigriffs and empire knights. So he's opted to move that all as one little force, flanking down the left hand side, his left hand side, opting to break his army up into 2 parts rather than moving them all as one. A not uncommon tactic, of course. Now Merlin is just going pretty much as one, and he is the Red Empire. I repeat, Merlin is the Red Empire, to try and help you differentiate the units. And his front line is kind of 3 little pairs. He's got spears and swordsmen, 3 lots of those kind of paired up. His swordsmen are silver chevroned as well. He's got his missiles in the middle and his great swords at the back, and his halberdiers at the back as well, so a little bit different than Keuken, but very similar. And then his Empire Knights and Halberds at the back as well. So very similar setup to the armies, apart from what they've done with their cavalry. So Keuken opting to flank around the side with the cavalry. And Merlin is going to prepare for that. He's got his Halberds and his Demigriffs ready to meet them if they want to throw down. But Merlin opting to go on the defensive. Opting to just pretty much stay still with his army, letting Keuken come to him. Bit of a skirmish going on now. Silver bullets getting blasted by some crossbows. They're returning fire. The crossbows are getting involved. So just a bit of a skirmish, a missile skirmish. This is like Rome 2 stuff right now. It's old historical style. No one's rushing in, just having a little skirmish with the missiles. Cavalry moving around the back as well for Keuken. He's just waiting for the right opportunity to attack. Now let's take a look at Keuken's Karl Franz and see what he's put on him at items and ability wise. So he's got Galmaraz item. He's got the Reikland Runefang item. Interesting. So he's got both items, Stand Your Ground, Foe Seeker, and I think he had Blood Roll there as well. And then let's look at Merlin's. Oh, a lot less. He's only got Stand Your Ground, Blood Roar. So not opting to bring the items on his Karl Franz. So some extra money spent into Keuken's Karl Franz. Interesting. Let's take a look at their wizards as well. So this is Keuken's wizard. I want to see how many spells and things they bring. He's bought Blast, Power Stone, Wind Blast, Harmonic Convergence, and Roiling Skies. So, quite a few spells for Keuken. He's got a lot of plans on his mind with those spells, maybe. And let's look at Merlin's. Oh, he's only got a few. He's got the Power Stone, Curse of the Midnight Wind, and Harmonic Convergence. So only 3 spells for Merlin. Bringing few spells, but obviously going to try and use them in very specific places, I guess, to try and give himself those edges. So interesting approach from both of them. Slightly different. Now the Silver Bullets, Merlin's Silver Bullets are getting worn down. They're nearly done for. But he's returning fire well enough. He's got his halberds and his demigryphs still waiting on that flanking force. Silver Bullets for Merlin, about to rout away though. He's getting some good damage done on Keuken's missiles though, so it's fairly even in the exchange. These halberds not taking any damage. A nice spell there. Keuken dropped a nice spell, did a lot of damage to those crossbowmen, got them wavering. Very nice. So yeah, with this build, when I made it, I tried to make it nice and even. Just a pretty much balanced, simple build with a Celestial Wizard who you don't see very often. So some Empire Swordsmen have run forward there for Keuken. I'm not sure why. He's being pursued by Empire Swordsmen. They might catch him and do some damage. I'm not sure if that was a micro mistake by Keuken or whether he was trying to lure that unit away for some reason. Cavs sort of engaging. Merlin going to charge the Empire Knights and then decides to pull back. Keuken going to charge the Demigryphs and then decides to pull back. The Empire Knights now going to charge in, and he is going to go in. So he's broken the charge of Merlin's Demigryphs and he's probably going to counter-charge him. Yep, Demigryphs coming back in for Keuken. Going to get some nice charging on those Demigryphs. Both Lords are in there. There's a little bit of a fracas going on with all this cavalry and the 2 Lords. Missiles still throwing down. These Swordsmen are in here now. Great Sword stood right behind them. That's Keuken's Great Swords. He probably wants to get them into those Swordsmen. They'll really help. Merlin opting to move his Empire Knights around the side now. Going to get his cavalry on the go. Some Demigryphs are broken. They're Merlin's Demigryphs. They are broken away. Keuken going to pull his cavalry back. Got a couple of abilities going. Debuff going on there from the enemy. And the 2 Lords are throwing down, and it looks like Merlin's Lord has taken a lot more damage in that exchange. Keuken's still in good condition at the moment. Let's try and have a look at what's going on. There is a lot. Spearmen on Spearmen here, but some Great Swords coming in for Merlin. Merlin are there. Get the Great Swords in. Spearmen on Swordsmen there. So infantry advantage is looking like Merlin's at the moment. He's got the better matchups with all the infantry. These swordsmen are over here though. These Great Swords are pulling back now. I thought these Great Swords would get into these swordsmen and win that fight for them, because Merlin's swordsmen are silver chevron. 1 silver chevron. Merlin opted to put money into his swordsmen to make them more powerful, and Keuken opted to put more money into his Lord and the spells rather than putting those chevrons on. But Keuken's Lord here, getting a bit hammered. He's down to below half health. We've got a bit of a Karl Franz off, both on Deathclaw. Who's going to take it? Probably the one that has more health. It's really that simple. There's nothing else getting involved there. And Keuken's Karl Franz is routed, which probably means he's going to be chased off the map as Merlin's going to pursue him with his Karl Franz. And Keuken's cavalry trying to get rid of Merlin's cavalry there. But Merlin still winning the infantry fight. He's got the better matchups. He's got those chevron swordsmen. He's got his Great Swords coming in now as well. He'll be able to help with the enemy Great Swords. More Great Swords over here. He's still got his Empire Knights around as well in good health. They haven't really taken any damage. And he needs to get after these missiles that he stood right in front of. He needs to get moving quick time. And there goes the Lords being chased off. So that is Keuken's Karl Franz being chased off the map by Merlin's. So Keuken losing his Lord, which is pretty huge and is often a killer, especially for the Empire. Nice bit of a rear charge here though from Merlin. Going to get these Great Swords. Doesn't do a great deal of damage. Empire Knights, of course, not the strongest cavalry in the world. 2 missile units here. Merlin mostly winning it on this little side of the battle. So yeah, looks like it's edging into Merlin's favour, but it's still all to play for. The Lord gone, of course, like I said, a big factor. Going to be hard for Keuken to keep his units in the fight as this battle wears on. Starting to try and blast down these Empire Knights, but there's some spearmen coming up behind them. Some of Merlin's spearmen are going to get hold of them, and that'll be the end of those missiles. Great Swords here, getting spells, debuffs on them. Cavalry getting debuffed. That's Keuken's cavalry. Got halberds right after it as well. Bit of a sandwich here. Keuken might be winning that one, but Merlin's Karl Franz is coming back, and he is probably pissed. So not a lot left. Big leadership penalties. 16 leadership down from the Lord going off the battlefield. The Empire Knights charging down some of these handgunners. That's going to waver them, knock them all over the gaff. And they are pretty much done for. They're not going to be able to fight their way out of that one, and there isn't really any units to save them now that those spearmen have been engaged. Some swordsmen coming over as well now. And most of Keuken's army is starting to rout off. And that is going to be it for the Kookmaster. So he's gone down in this one. Merlin able to return fire and bring it to 1-1 in the matchups. Let's take a look at some numbers. No real standout performances on Keuken's army. Halberd's not doing too badly. Great Sword's okay. Cavalry was pretty much involved with the other cavalry for both sides. Great Sword's doing well for Merlin. See, they got a nice bit of chevroning there, as well as the swordsmen. They did okay. Those extra chevrons coming in handy. What could Keuken have done there to maybe turn that one around? It's difficult because the armies were exactly the same and their formation and approach was very similar, apart from Keuken flanking around the back with his cavalry. The biggest problem for Keuken though was the swordsmen with the chevrons. They were going to be better than his swordsmen. He needed to do something about them, so maybe bringing his great swords up front to face them would have been a better idea, and pulling his swordsmen back so that they wouldn't have to face them. And then he could use the swordsmen to chase other things, the missiles, the spearmen, whatever. Maybe he could have tried to get those swordsmen after the missiles or something. Maybe just tried to disrupt them rather than shooting them. Could have put some fire on those maybe. This here, I'm not sure what he was doing with this one. Maybe Keuken can tell us if this was a micro mistake or whether he was trying to lure that one unit away for some reason. And it nearly happened here, what I was saying about getting the great swords into the swordsmen. He positioned his great swords here just in front of Merlin's swordsmen, but for some reason he didn't send them in. Could have pulled those ones back and sent the swordsmen in, the great swords in, sorry. And they would have torn through those swordsmen pretty well. Yeah, a few minor things, like I say, in hindsight it's easy to see these, but in the battle, especially this battle where all the units look the same and it's very difficult to differentiate even watching this back, let alone playing it. But yeah, like I say, not a lot that could be done terribly differently. Of course, Keuken maybe wanted to look after his lord a little better. Right here he could have pulled him away, could have got him out of that danger, saved him all that health loss, but he left him in there a little bit too long and he paid the price for it. That's battle 2, we're 1-1, let's move on to battle 3. So Merlin equalizes, leading into battle number 3, which is Avalon for Merlin and Bretonnia for Keuken. So they chose these factions way before the battle. They didn't know what their opponent faction was or what map they'd be on though. So this is kind of just like a quick battle. So Bretonnia versus Avalon. Golden Monolith is the map. Now let's take a look at Merlin's army first of all. He's got spearmen on his front line, 2 dryads and then spearmen on the other end. And then behind that, lots of elite units, Phoenix Guard, 2 units of Swordmasters of Hoeth, or Hoemasters of Swordith if you prefer, and another Phoenix Guard at the end backed by some Lothan Sea Guard. All very powerful units, and then his lord is Alariel the Radiant on a flying mount. And then his only bit of cavalry is 2 units of Illyrian archers, so a bit of skirmisher cav. Merlin's army very heavy on the elite infantry, going to be a tough one to bring down overall. Keuken's Bretonnia, very spread out, very wide. His front line of sorts, men-at-arms with shields, although like I say, they are very spread out at the moment. He's got peasant bowmen in between, just the normal kind though, no fire ones, even though we've got Avalon in their trees. Foot squires on either end of it. More foot squires in the middle. He's got a blessed field trebuchet over here with some spearmen. Don't see those very often. Protecting that with a spearman, and then another one over here as well. He's put those apart as well, which is always a good call. Makes it difficult to take them both down. And then obviously the powerful units of his army is going to be the cavalry. He's got the companions of Kinel, who are questing knights with fancy stuff. And then he's also got Grail Knights, because, you know, they're Grail Knights and they're awesomely strong. So got to try and make good use of those 2 units if Bretonnia wants to take this one. And Keuken's lord is the Fey Enchantress on a horse, on a unicorn rather. So a battle of the blondes in this one. Blonde ladies do lead today. So, as I said, Keuken's army very spread out, lots of space between all the units, allowing him lots of maneuverability, very wide. Merlin's army, very small, very compact, going to have a lot of strong units, all focused into one area, probably going to be the middle of the Bretonnian army. Got to find a way to deal with those Swordmasters, and Phoenix Guard does Keuken. So he's got his blessed field trebuchets, I'm not sure they're firing yet. Apparently they are. Not sure who they're firing on. He hasn't selected targets yet, or at least I can't see the arrows for it. So the Illyrian archers moving around the side as well. Going to start popping off some arrows on things. And Avalon is going straight for him. Keuken's coming up to meet him a little bit. Merlin is mostly the aggressor in this one. Very few missiles for Merlin, of course, with the High Elves. A little bit of a crazy call. 2 units of Lothan Sea Guard, all he's got. Spearmen going to engage with men-at-arms. Dryads coming in. Some of these missiles are a little bit exposed here. These ones have no protection. Anything could just run straight through and take either of these 2 units out. Gonna need to try and find a way to protect them, or they're gonna be in trouble. Gonna get in a charge with the Grail Knights, does Keuken. Gonna do a nice bit of damage to these Dryads, but he's gonna also take a nice bit of damage in return. Whether that was worth it, who knows, but it'll probably heal them up. The Fey Enchantress should be able to do that. Illyrian Reavers getting some arrows on the companions, but they're pulling back. So these archers, 2 units of archers very exposed here, and here comes some Swordmasters. That is pretty much death for them. They need to skirmish away, but I guess they're not on skirmish. Maybe he's going to use the cavalry to help out. Got some archers here, turning to face. Not sure who they're going for. Got some men-at-arms all the way over here. Not sure where they came from, what angle were they hidden behind something? A bit of an odd angle for them to be running from. Not sure where they were going. He's got some men-at-arms running over here. Not sure if this is intentional by Keuken. I'm not sure why he would chase Skirmisher Cav. He'll know that he's never going to catch him. Maybe he's just trying to get him to use up some ammo, which if it is, then he's doing that damn well. Maybe he's just trying to push them back so they don't shoot his more expensive units. He has broken a unit of Swordmasters, has Keuken, so that's a pretty big win for him. He's done a nice bit of damage to the other Swordmasters as well, so wearing the Avalon Elite Infantry down. The Phoenix Guard, a little bit of damage on them, quarter of their health, and these ones are in good nick. Nice charge coming in though from the Companions. Going to do some damage with their armor-piercing powers. Grail Knights managing to slip away. Doesn't want to stay in melee combat with any of those boys too long. The Phoenix Guard will take him down pretty quick. Spearmen throwing down with Foot Squires. Foot Squires should be able to get through them. Although Dryads behind them, slapping them in the back of the head, maybe they won't be able to get anywhere. Ilariel's still fine. She's moving around. Getting the Star of Avalon going. She's healing everything up. Healing those Phoenix Guard is Merlin's choice. Always a good choice, of course. Blessfield Trebuchet, still okay out here, nothing gone after that. Not a lot of mobility for Merlin. Only his Illyrian Reavers to really be able to rush out there quickly. The other one's fine as well. Still been dropping some stone on things. But Merlin getting the better of this left-hand side perhaps. Foot Squires doing their best to take down Swordmasters and things. Here come the Illyrian Reavers. Going to get the missiles there. Lots of units to come back though for Keuken. These got to turn around and start getting back in the fight as soon as possible. Going to need to wear down these Phoenix Guard if anything. And Fey Enchantress in here, she might be a little bit trapped, or maybe she's being left there. Hopefully not against Phoenix Guard, as she is large on that mount. She's getting a bit hammered. She's stuck on one Phoenix Guard man. She is routed now because of it. She got stuck there. She got some spells going off on her. She's in a little bit of trouble, is the Fey Enchantress. Companions fairly beaten down now. Still getting some work done though. Illyrian Reavers have taken out one of the archers for the most part. Trebuchet struggling now as well. So Avalon overrunning this right side heavily of Bretonnia. A lot of units have come back. He needs to get them back in the fight though. He needs to reform. Maybe just needs to fall back and reform in front of that other Trebuchet and just prepare for another assault and use that Trebuchet to damage those elite units and their missiles, because he has that advantage. He had the missile advantage. Like I said, the fire arrows could have been more use in this one to take down those Dryads, as you would expect some kind of wood unit from Avalon, but he opted for just the normal ones. Probably didn't want to spend the money, opting for quite a large army with those spearmen at arms. And that is the trouble with all the Bretonian infantry, is their leadership is just not very good, so they don't hang around for long. Maybe a Grail Reliquary would have been useful here, but the Phoenix Guard is going to start wasting all these returning units, and it's going to be very difficult now for Keuken to turn this one around. Lothan Sea Guard, not with shields, still pretty good condition. Got a lot of boys left to pop off the arrows. Got plenty of ammo left. It's going to be very difficult. Avalon kind of moving as one, just steamrolling everything as it goes. And Bretonnia just kind of coming back and forth one by one and just getting picked off. This is why I said he needs to regroup and just try to get everything in one big hit. Star of Avalon coming in again. Merlin getting some good healing on his units. Earthblood on these Bretonian units as well, so healing for both sides there. Healing up his cavalries, healing up his lord. But here come the Lothan Sea Guard into melee. They're going to like facing horses, but here comes some Foot Squires as well to answer, so all to play for. Here come the Foot Squires. Running mostly through their own units. Ilariel here. I think she's still in pretty good condition. Oh, and here come the Phoenix Guard though. Or are they spearmen? I think they're just spearmen actually. Either way, it's all coming into this one big clump, which is looking like it's going to get surrounded, is Bretonnia. Going to get a rear charge with these Illyrian Reavers. Not going to do a great deal of damage, but those morale penalties will be pretty huge, especially on Bretonnians. Ilariel escaping the fracas there. She's lost a fair bit of health. Fey Enchantress, she's not in bad condition either, about half health, so similar health for both lords. But Avalon at this point just has too much infantry left. Even though it's all very beaten down, they're going to have more staying power than the Bretonnians will. And that is ultimately going to lead to the downfall of Keuken in this one. So Merlin taking battle number 3, putting him 2-1 up now. Take a look at some of these performances. Swordmasters, of course, doing well. Phoenix Guard, one of them doing well. Illyrian Reavers, 108 kills for those, really good stuff. Bretonnian Cavalry being some of the star performers there. Although, of course, it is tough. There was a lot of powerful infantry to get rid of. The missiles didn't really do a lot. Maybe they were firing at the heavy armor of the units and weren't going to get through it too well. But they didn't seem to do a great deal. One of the foot squires did okay. The men-at-arms are men-at-arms. But what could Keuken have done to potentially turn that one around? Well, the first thing is, I'm not sure exactly where the deployment zone is in here. I think maybe it's a little bit further back. So he's deployed up here. This is the little box he's in. But maybe he could go back a little bit further. I'm not sure where the edge of the map is here. There's the edge. There's the corner. So, yeah, I'd say the deployment zone is maybe a bit further back. If he could have deployed back here, or he could have at least run back here, although maybe not with his trebuchets. But the point is that he could have made more time for his trebuchets to fire. He could have used the full range of his trebuchets, whittled down those swordmasters, those Phoenix Guard a little bit with the trebuchets, and made it a lot easier to deal with them, giving himself a bit more time to get things done. He could have also closed up the gaps between his units, maybe. Not too much, but it was very easy for some of those units to get through and get after the peasant bowmen, which made them very easy to disrupt. These peasant bowmen here, maybe these ones, they got thoroughly destroyed by that big gap, that big hole that was left. So yeah, could have closed the gap a bit, could have pulled back a little bit further, given himself a bit more time to fire on these units, make the better use of his ranged advantage, which he did have, and just wear down these elite units, because the struggle was, there wasn't a lot for Bretonnia to nail those with. Maybe the cavalry could have tried to get some hammer and anvil on those. It would have been very difficult though. He could have tried to come down this side, maybe with the 2 units of cavalry. Would have had the Illyrian archers on him though. They probably would have been pestering him, but they wouldn't have done a great deal of damage very quickly, because they didn't have armor piercing. Could have blasted those with the peasant bowmen. That's personally what I do whenever I see skirmisher cav, is I get missiles on it, because they don't have much armor. They're usually pretty easy to chop down with a few missiles. So there's a few changes Keuken could have made. Maybe they would have helped, maybe they wouldn't have. But like I say, very easy to say this in hindsight, not always easy to see it in the heat of battle. So to our 4th battle then. Merlin up 2-1 at this point. This could be his match point. If he wins this one, he wins the final. It is a best of 5, of course. So we'll see what he can do here as Norsca. Merlin is Norsca, and he's against the Keuken man, of course, as Greenskins. We'll look at Keuken's army first of all. This is one where they got to know the faction they'd be facing and the map they'd be fighting on before the battle. So lots of Savage Orcs and Savage Orc Biggins as Keuken's front line. One big long line of green Savage power, basically. He's got Skarsnik as his lord, good old gobbler there as well, and an Orc Shaman for his magical needs. Rusty arrows for some ranged, armor piercing on the nasty skulkers, some goblin archers for a little more ranged. Out on the flank he's got the broken tusk mob, a nice powerful anti-large cavalry, armor piercing as well, and some goblin spider riders. Oh, and a couple of skirmisher cavalry as well, in the death creepers, and the mangy marauders here as well. So lots of mobility, lots of light mobility in the cavalry, and lots of frontline killing power in all these Savage Orcs. A little bit of ranged as well, so he's got the options here. As for Merlin, he's gone the opposite end of the spectrum. He's gone for very powerful heavy units and a pretty small army overall. He's got Marauder Champions, 1, 2, I think there's 4 units of Marauder Champions. There's 3 on the front. He's got Mist Stalkers at the back there, who are female warriors with great weapons. I forget what exactly they do. I think they just have Stalk. They have armor sundering as well, like the normal ones. But yeah, so he's got the Stalk of them. He's not going to know they're there. Damage resistance as well. So Mist Stalkers, great weapon female warriors there, and just some regular female warriors there as well. So he's going to mix those in with his front line, by the way he's got them set up, which is going to bring him a lot of armor piercing on the front line. Another Marauder Champions at the back there. He's got Wulfric on a horse. And what else has he got? Ice Wolves. Got some nice lovely Ice Wolves here. Great for slowing things down. Catching those skirmisher cavalries perhaps. And then he does have a Balefina Shadows in there as well. And then all the way over here, he's also got 2 more units of Ice Wolves. So could be useful for getting after the skirmishers, but he has spotted them. He's going to pull those back. And he's going to approach the Greenskins. So Merlin's army, pretty small and powerful, which is pretty dangerous against a faction that brings lots of numbers and that can surround you. But with this map, Kelp and Coal Dust, you get this little choke point here, which can be used quite effectively if you can hold it up. which is looking like what Merlin is going to try and do, but Keuken is there ready, waiting to throw down in that pass. He doesn't mind getting stuck in to all that, but Keuken, of course, has the missile advantage. He doesn't have to go into there if he doesn't want to. He can sit back and just pepper them until they come to him, till Norsca comes towards them. The rusty arrows, armor piercing, well, these are just goblin archers, but they can do the damage from the range, forcing Norsca to come and get him. He's just out of range at the minute. Keuken's going to start to move his army up just to get in range. Merlin looking like he wants to sit in the choke point and fight it out in there. A good way to protect his flanks. But unfortunately for him, he does not have the range advantage, so he can't just sit there. These Ice Wolves taking a bit of damage back here. Done some damage to the Death Creepers though, but not enough. So Norsca going to advance. Now that they've come into range, they know they can't just sit there. Merlin's got to advance. So Merlin, with a pretty small army here, is going to be very powerful, but Savage Orc Biggins hit pretty damn hard. Even against heavily armoured units, they will still put out a good bit of damage. So it's going to be a tough one for him with his lack of numbers to outlast all these Savage Orcs and the Skirmisher Cav as well, wearing things down. Going to be difficult, I think, for Merlin. Female Warriors coming in as well. The armor piercing of all these units, Marauder Champions and Female Warriors, armor piercing not really needed against the Greenskins so much. War just got popped by Keuken, which is going to make this frontline engagement even more favourable for him. It's all going off. And you can see the damage a lot of these Norscan units have taken already. These Marauder Champions nearly down to half health. The big ones are as well though, to be fair. These Savage Orcs taking a fair bit of punishment. These Wolves have come in trying to get the missiles, but the Broken Tusk mob are all over them. Champions are breaking here. Everything on low health over here. These Savage Orcs getting the better of the Female Warriors. Savage Orc Biggins are of course anti-large as well, which is favourable against the Female Warriors. Going to help them with that fight. A lot of the Norscan units routing away now. Some Greenskin ones as well, but mostly the Norskins are struggling. And this is a tough fight for them, I think, because the Greenskins have so many units and they are Savage Orcs, so they've all got a lot of damage output. And that's just very tough to outlast, especially for a faction like Norsca, who don't really last a long time themselves. Breaking some of these Savage Orcs here. They've got Here We Go on them though. Keuken's going to start pushing his right side to flank around the rest of it. So Merlin kind of one on the left and then Keuken one on the right, but Keuken just has so many green units left. It's very difficult for Norsca to really get anything done. Again, you could try to pull back and try to reform your army a little bit and have another shot, but it's just going to take too long and there's too many Greenskins ready to be all over you. Female Warriors, Mist Stalkers here getting hammered. Got some debuffs on them. Smoke Bomb from the old nasty Skulkers. Missiles hammering them down. And the Green Tide is going to be just a little bit too much for Norsca to face in this one. The Bale Fiend in there, but he's as tough as he is, he's not going to be able to survive all these Greenskins. A lot of the big ones are heavily damaged though. Some Female Warriors coming back. Marauder Champions a little bit back, but they're also heavily beaten up. They simply don't have the staying power to outlast any of this stuff. Especially not Savage Orc Biggins, as they are so savage. Oh, so savage. They've got a lot of melee attack and they do have Frenzy as well. They're not so dangerous this late in the game because they probably lost Frenzy by now, but still they'll hit very hard, especially if they get a War again or an Here We Go spell. Anything that boosts their melee attack just makes them pretty damn disgusting. The last Norsca units just holding on. Maybe trying to route a few off and hope for a mass route. There's a few ways you could try and turn this around, but it's going to be very difficult. Routing the Shaman now. There are a lot of Greenskin units suddenly falling. Wolfric stuck in here. Skarsnik getting stuck into him with all the Spider Riders. Both in fairly good health though. Another War coming off now. It's going to boost the melee attack of all units in the army for the Greenskins. Wolfric not in any great peril though. A lot of green flags now going white. A lot of routing Greenskins. Of course, Greenskins will come back a lot as well, just like Norsca do. They'll run away, but they will come back and keep fighting for a good while. Norsca unable to take it in this one, bringing it to 2-2. Keuken equalizes, bringing it back to give us an even game and taking us to battle 5. Goddamn. Biggins, lots of kills for them. Broken Tusk mob did alright. A tough break for Norsca there. Some of them Marauder Champions doing okay, some of them not so much. But you can see the difference in unit size here. The Greenskins army was about twice the size of the Norscan one. Of course there were a lot of Female Warriors and things, but what could Merlin have possibly done with that one to try and turn it around? Honestly, I really don't know. I don't think there was a lot. I think Merlin's build was a bad call overall. I think he brought a lot of armor piercing against a faction that didn't really need it. Maybe he was expecting a lot of Black Orcs. Maybe he was trying to catch him out. Maybe he wasn't expecting a lot of numbers. But the Greenskins came with numbers, they came with a lot of mobility, and Norsca really had no answer for that. No skin wolves, no frostworm, nothing that could really catch any cavalry, no missiles. So it was really difficult. He had a lot of killing power on his front line, but so did the Greenskins, and the Greenskins had more of it. So ultimately they won it. They had good answers to the Fimir warriors with the big uns. He had the missile advantage, he had the cavalry advantage, so it was going to be a tough one for Merlin there. I really don't know how he could have made that army work without some serious blunders from Keuken, which just didn't happen. So we go to the 5th. So we head into the final battle of the Great Tournament 2 to find out who is the true champion, and who gets the first place prize of £100 in Steep vouchers, and who gets the second place prize of £50 in Steep vouchers. We'll find out in this battle, Chaos versus Avalon. This is where they just chose any faction they wanted. They didn't see the enemy faction before they chose, so they were choosing completely blind, just so we could avoid any kind of counter picking. Merlin opted to go for his old faithful Avalon, and Keuken choosing to go as the Chaos. So we'll see what they can both do with these factions. Avalon, of course, going to have a ranged advantage here, but saying that, Keuken does have 2 units of Horse Masters, who are one of the few ranged choices for the Chaos, a bit of Skirmisher Cav. And then the main bulk of his army is Chaos Marauders, slightly upgraded, chosen with great weapons. These boys, of course, very powerful, but they're going to be a little bit susceptible to missiles. More Chaos Marauders. Sartherial, the Everwatcher, is his lord. Very mobile, very bouncy aroundy. Chaos Halberds, more chosen with great weapons. More chosen with great weapons, more Marauders. So you get the idea. It's mostly chosen with great weapons and Marauders all mixed up. So he's got some lighter, more expendable infantry, and then, of course, the ultimate powerful great weapon infantry. Also got some Chaos Knights with lances, some Poison Warhounds for any Skirmisher Cav. And that is pretty much Keuken's army, I believe. Now for Merlin's army, a little bit atop the hill. He's got some Spearmen, backed by Swordmasters. He loves his Swordmasters. And he's got 3 of those. So 3 Swordmasters of Hoeth, 2 Spearmen on the edges, and then 3 units of Sisters of Avalon. A very powerful ranged unit, armor piercing, magical damage. If they focus fire something, it dies, pretty much. So got to be very careful around them. Does Keuken, got to find a way to deal with them. And again, Alariel the Radiant on her flying mount. There's also some Illyrian Reavers hidden over here, and some hidden all the way over here. This map is Doom Reach, I believe, so a pretty cool finishing one, I think. It's got some nice hills going on. Both sides can take advantage of it. Got some trees. Got a few different options on how you could approach making use of it, but both of them opting to fight mostly on the flattish plane of the hill. Keuken's starting to move up the hill a little bit now, bringing his poison boys out. Trying to scout for any units, I'd assume. Perhaps sees these Illyrian Reavers coming to get him. The other ones he's obviously seen firing at him from the trees. Sartherial coming over. Both main armies staying put though. No one advancing. The fight's taking place all over here. These Poison Warhounds going to come in, start chewing down these Illyrian Reavers. In come the Horse Masters as well. Going to get their melee skills on the go. Illyrian Reavers trying to escape, but they're going to take a lot of damage doing that. And the poison of those Warhounds is going to slow them down, making it even harder for them to get away. Chaos Knights out here as well. He's going to rout off one of those units. Probably going to keep his Warhounds going after it to keep them running away and to do as much damage as he can. The other Illyrian Reavers are firing on the Chaos Knights, but they've got such armor, they don't really feel it too much, although they will feel the Sisters of Avalon shooting at them because they have armor piercing. They did a little bit of damage on that volley there. Sartherial out wide as well. Main armies still chilling out on the hill, no one advancing just yet. It's all about this skirmish and flank. Warhounds munching down those Illyrian Reavers. He's going to try and get some fire. He's got 2 units of Horsemasters here. I imagine he could take out the Illyrian Reavers. I don't know why he doesn't just try and focus them down and charge them both down. I think they would win 2-on-1, but there's a good chance they'd skirmish away and pull 2 units away from the fight, so maybe Keuken wants to use these to help support his main army in a minute rather than having them run off, or maybe he's just bringing these Warhounds back to do it for him, which is looking like what he's going for. Going to get the Warhounds to try and sort them out. Going to start to move the Horse Masters round because both of the armies are now advancing on each other. Chaos is moving towards Avalon, Avalon towards Chaos. Oh shit, here we go. It's about to go down. Sisters of Avalon firing on the Chosen with great weapons. Going to start wearing them down as much as he can before they get to the fight. Swordmasters are of course going to be the ones to try and take them out, but if he can injure them a good amount before they reach the Swordmasters, it's going to make the Swordmasters' life a lot easier. And Keuken really needs to try and disrupt these missiles. Maybe he should have waited and tried to disrupt them a bit sooner. Got the cavalry into them, so he's got Sartherial on one there. That's stopping them firing. That's all you need. And he's got the numbers advantage, so he should be able to find a way through to get to them. He's got the Horse Masters around there. He's got the Chaos Knights as well somewhere with lances. They could do a lot of damage. These Swordmasters going to get engaged by Chosen with great weapons now. Bit of healing coming in from Merlin. He loves that healing on Avalon. Star of Avalon healing up the Swordmasters. Going to get some damage on these Sisters. Sisters can defend themselves in melee though. They're not complete wimps like a lot of missile cavalry. Got the halberds coming over. They can just help out with something. They've got a bit of armor piercing. They can do some stuff. One of the Chosen's got a bit stuck here. Maybe they're meant to be chewing through those spearmen, or they're meant to be moving through to some Swordmasters. And Marauders getting a hold of the Sisters of Avalon. This is what Keuken needed. Something to disrupt them with, using that numbers advantage. So Avalon getting pretty surrounded now by all the cavalry and the infantry advantage. Chaos Warhounds have chased these Illyrian Reavers all the way off to pretty much uselessness. And they're going to try and get back and do something. Some of the Marauders routing away, but that's to be expected. Spearmen, got to try and whittle them down a bit. They can still be tough, even though they're a lower tier unit. These ones are still around. Getting some healing as well. Merlin on top of the healing. Sartherial bouncing around. He's lost a fair bit of health. Maybe a third of his health. Still flying around though, being a nuisance. There's the Chaos Knights they've got in there. Maybe he wants to try and hammer and anvil the Swordmasters, does Keuken. Get some serious damage done on them, because a lot of his infantry isn't going to be able to stand up to it. These Chosen with great weapons have been fairly battered now by the missiles and the Swordmasters, but they've given it back as good as they've got it. Who can win the frontline engagement? That is the question now. Plague of Rust being used on the Swordmasters to try and whittle down their armour. Sartherial's spellbook coming into play. Here come the Warhounds, going to munch on these Sisters. Ooh, and sandwiched by the Chaos Knights. That is a pretty hefty end to those ladies. But there's some Swordmasters coming. They're going to tip the favour back in Avalon's favour. Going to start chopping down some dogs. And some healing coming in for Avalon again. Merlin all over his healing, but too late for those Sisters. They've been broken. So it's getting very even now, very close. Swordmasters here starting to waver. Chosen getting the better of them slowly. Oh, who's going to take it? The Chaos Knights have been freed up there. They're going to start to charge around a bit. Bit of a spell coming in there as well. Another one from Sartherial, I think. Managed to rout the Chosen though. I think he routed his own unit there. He's got rid of some Sisters though. These boys are running away from something. Some Sisters over here. Maybe you don't want to leave them alone. Maybe should have pushed after them, but he's probably trying to regroup his infantry and focus on the more dangerous Swordmasters right now. Everything coming back for Keuken. He's got a lot of units returning. And have to try and do his best to get rid of these last Swordmasters. And the Spearmen, I mean the Spearmen are going to hold on well enough. They're not going to get a ton of kills, but they will hold and just whittle down that leadership with damage. So they do have their role to play here, even though there's no large to kill so much, apart from the cavalry. Swordmasters getting hammered with charges. Hanging in there though, not getting wavered. So Chaos, looks like they're starting to outnumber Avalon a little bit. They could be taking it. Alariel getting after the Horsemasters. Merlin getting some more healing. He loves that Star of Avalon, and it's doing some good work for him. These Swordmasters now have been buffed up to nearly half health. That Star of Avalon really helping them out, keeping them alive against these Chosen with great weapons and halberds and Sartherial. That could be a game changer. The Star of Avalon keeping these units in the game. Cavalry charging around, trying to break that leadership with some rear charges. Sisters of Avalon coming back though. This one could come back as well. Although it seems like the Horsemasters are going back to get them, so perhaps not. Coming down to the last few units, and who can outlast who here? Sartherial, he's in pretty good health. The Chosen, not in such good health. These spear units have been so well healed. They're not feeling too much of the pain. They've got a good bit left. They could probably outlast a little bits of Chosen that are left. Here comes some Swordmasters back. Swordmasters versus Chosen with great weapons. Not sure who wins that in an open field one-on-one battle. I'd say maybe the Swordmasters, but I don't know. I might be wrong. But who has enough juice left in the tank here? It's the Swordmasters. Both units have arrived, what's left of them, and they've taken out those Chosen. So pretty much now, it's all down to Sartherial. He's going to come in, he's going to charge around, he's going to drop a spell or two. The only thing he can really do now, Sartherial, pretty much by himself, is try and use Terror to scare some units off. Hope for some kind of mass rout. Maybe try and drop a nice spell. A well-placed spell on all these units could rout all 5 of them off. And that could be pretty huge. Trouble is though, Alariel, she's in pretty good health. She's pretty much at full health. She's probably been healed, she's stayed out of the way. There's nothing that can really do much to it. Well, there's nothing that can do anything to her in the air, apart from the Horsemasters, but even they're not going to do a great deal. Sartherial still knocking Swordmasters around all over the place. Unable to rout any of it though. It's all holding strong. He's flying around, inflicting as much terror as he can. Alariel's coming in now. All Sisters of Avalon coming in. Hitting them with some arrows. Going to keep on the move. A nice spell there from Keuken. He kind of led a lot of that infantry into that spell. Unfortunately, it didn't really land that well. So it didn't have the desired effect of maybe routing everything off, but he's got rid of one unit of spearmen. Some swordmasters gone there as well. So he is routing them. Can he hold on? He's running out of health. Alariel still in that great condition. Even if he takes out all the infantry, he's still got to get past Alariel, who probably won't rout off, even if this infantry is all dead. So Sarthariel's fate is looking quite sealed at this point. He's not going down easy though. He's not going down without a fight. He's taking missiles, but he's slapping elves around like there's no tomorrow. Including good old Alariel. Oh, she's giving it back though. The final attacks of old Sarthariel. Can he survive? Of course he can't. He hasn't got enough health. But Alariel is going to slap him down. No, oh, he's still not going down. You can't kill it. Oh, there he goes. Oh, big bird down. Big bird down. A valiant defeat for Keuken. Merlin takes the victory. Merlin is the champion of the Great War. Merlin wins. First place. Very close though. Coming down to the wire. So Swordmasters again performing strongly. They had a lot of healing to help them out. They had the Swordmasters to soften up their biggest worry, which was the Chosen. So a good combination of units there. They helped each other out well. The Spearmen just held everything together. The Chosen with great weapons were really the key here, but they had a hard time. Some of them did okay, but not enough against the Swordmasters. Armors were very similar size actually. A lot of these Marauders just trying to get in the way and stuff. They did a little bit, but not a great deal. Sarthariel doing okay, but there we go. Merlin takes it. What could Keuken have possibly done in this one? Well, it was going to be tough with those missiles. He was always going to have that disadvantage. He maybe could have held off on pushing his main infantry army forward until his skirmishers and stuff were in better position, or his cavalry, sorry, were in better position to try and disrupt all these Sisters of Avalon. If he stopped them firing on his Chosen would have been fresh to the fight. They would have had a better chance against those Swordmasters. But it was going to be tough to stop them because the healing was constant from Merlin. And the only way to stop that would be to kill Alariel, which is very difficult as she's in the sky. And Keuken didn't have a lot of ways to deal with that. But getting those missiles out of the way would have been job one, I think. And then if you could have hit some hammer and anvil with the Chaos Knights, that maybe could have been a game changer on the back of the Swordmasters. You could have got access to all three units here. You could have hit one of them. That would have been a pretty big game changer because they hit damn hard to those Chaos Knights with lances. I'm not sure where he goes with this. He's going to opt to charge into the centre. Going to try and hit these Sisters of Avalon. He wants to get those off the field. But I think maybe picking the target of the Swordmasters would have been a better one there. But other than that, not a lot he could have done. It was a tough one. It was fairly even in ways because they had 3 units of Swordmasters versus 3 Chosen. So 3 elite infantries. The Sisters of Avalon, of course, a big advantage. But then the Chaos Knights with lances, a big advantage for Keuken. So even in some kind of ways. But Merlin managed to outlast Keuken in this one. A lot of good healing. Well played to both men in this tournament. Thanks for playing. I've thoroughly enjoyed hosting it. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. And I hope you've enjoyed either participating in it or watching it yourself. Of course, there will be more great tournaments, but not for a while. The next one probably won't be to the middle of next year, 2019. So if you're interested in getting involved, join up on the Discord, get involved, get practicing, get yourself good. And our winner here, Merlin, is really a prime example of why you should just try and have a go and get involved in these tournaments. Because Merlin only started playing Total War against other people, multiplayer, in September of this year. So he's been playing for about a month, and he just beat a guy who's in the top 100 and another guy who's in the top 200. So it really shows that anybody can beat anybody. You just have to obviously know a bit. He's played Total War longer than a month for sure. He's played Total War a good while. He knows the game well. And it also shows that the leaderboards don't really mean that much. If someone's at the top of the leaderboard, they can be beaten by a guy who's in 4 figures on the leaderboard, as Merlin says he is. And he's a good ambassador for the underdog. I think that's what I'm trying to say here. Keuken, I knew was a strong player. If I had to choose who I thought was going to win it, I would have said Keuken was going to win this final. But Merlin came through and he shocked the world and he proved us all wrong. And I think that's awesome. A great way to end the tournament. Thanks to both players for participating and thanks for making a fantastic final. It was very close, of course. He only just beat Keuken, so let's not give Merlin too much credit. But he did do very well and he took it. Fair play to him. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've enjoyed the tournament. I'll see you in the future tournaments.